Today's talk is not about romance. It is not about love stories, nor the excitement of meeting someone new. What we are going to explore is far more consequential: the structure of remarriage in later life. This lecture is intended especially for women in their 50s and beyond who are considering remarriage or companionship. And the objective is precise: to prevent a repeated mistake. Across counseling rooms, across cultures, across vastly different life histories, I have heard the same reflections again and again. I should have taken more time to understand him. I didn't see it at the beginning. I think I rushed because I was lonely. This pattern is not accidental. It is structural. Remarriage after 50, a structural shift. Marriage in youth is often driven by emotion, love, attraction, anticipation, even illusion. It is forward-looking. It assumes expansion, possibility, growth. But remarriage after 50 operates on an entirely different axis. It operates on systems, 4 systems to be exact: economic structure, family structure, especially involving children, health and aging, the architecture of later life. When two people meet in midlife, it is not simply two individuals encountering one another. It is two fully formed life systems colliding. And when systems collide without understanding, the result is not harmony. It is friction. This is why remarriage in midlife requires a different kind of intelligence. Not emotional intensity, but structural awareness. 3 critical risks. There are 3 recurring risks that must be approached with caution. First, relationships accelerated by loneliness. Second, relationships formed without examining economic realities. Third, relationships where one ignores the other person's life patterns. Many people hold a comforting belief: if I meet the right person, my life will become stable again. Emotionally appealing, but psychologically dangerous. An ancient Tibetan text, often referred to as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, offers a striking observation. When the mind is under fear, it creates images that appear as salvation. This is not merely spiritual language. It is psychological truth. When you are lonely, the person who appears feels like rescue. When you are anxious, the person who appears feels like stability. But over time, illusion collides with reality, and what once felt like salvation begins to feel like burden. The foundational question. Before entering a relationship in midlife, one question must be asked honestly: am I looking for someone to live with, or someone to relieve my loneliness? These questions sound similar, but they produce entirely different outcomes. A relationship built to escape loneliness becomes dependency. A relationship built to share life becomes partnership. And that distinction defines everything. From a psychological standpoint, remarriage in midlife is less about love and more about self-understanding. Why am I choosing this relationship? What do I expect from this person? What have I truly learned from my past? Without clear answers, the probability of repeating past patterns becomes extremely high. This is why many psychologists describe remarriage after 50 not as romance, but as a structural redesign of life. The hidden psychological drivers. Let us go deeper. Why do so many women in their 50s begin to consider remarriage? On the surface, the answers seem simple: loneliness, companionship, emotional stability. But beneath these lies, something more complex. As life progresses, core roles begin to dissolve. Children leave home. Caregiving responsibilities fade. Careers slow down or end. And suddenly, something unfamiliar appears. Silence. The home becomes quieter. Conversations decrease. Time expands in ways that feel disorienting. Psychology sometimes refers to this as a relational vacuum, a state where the central structure of one's relationships has disappeared. In this state, remarriage is often not about love. It is about reconstructing emotional structure. I want someone to talk to. I want someone to grow old with. These are deeply human desires, but they become dangerous when misunderstood. Because if a relationship is used to fill an internal void, it is placed under pressure it cannot sustain. No human being can fully resolve another person's loneliness. No partner can complete a life that has not been internally stabilized. And when that expectation is imposed, the result is often disappointment, conflict, and emotional fatigue, a shift in perspective. So the real question is not, can this person make me happy? But rather, am I entering this relationship from stability or from deficiency? This distinction determines the trajectory of the relationship. 3 core psychological motivations. Let us now examine the deeper psychological drivers. 1. The desire for validation. Am I still chosen? For many women, especially after divorce or prolonged independence, a quiet question emerges. Am I still someone who can be chosen? This is not about romance. It is about identity and self-worth. For those who felt unseen or unappreciated in past relationships, even small gestures of attention can feel powerful. But this creates a critical risk. The relationship becomes a mechanism to restore self-worth. And when that happens, rejection is no longer just rejection. It becomes confirmation of inadequacy. The partner is no longer just a companion. They become a mirror of value. This is an unstable foundation. 2. The desire to redesign life. The 50s represent a profound transition point. People began asking, what kind of life am I living now? How do I want to spend the next 20 years? Who, if anyone, do I want beside me? These are not romantic questions. They are architectural. Remarriage is only one possible design. Other viable structures include independent living and exploration, socially rich, community-centered lives, or partnership-based living. The problem arises when remarriage is chosen not as a conscious design, but as an emotional reflex. 3. The desire to reduce future anxiety. As people age, certain realities become unavoidable. Health concerns, financial sustainability, the possibility of aging alone. These concerns can evolve into persistent anxiety. If I become ill, who will care for me? What happens if I face old age alone? These are valid concerns, but relationships formed under anxiety often create new instability. Fear does not disappear. It transfers. And once inside a relationship, it manifests as dependency, control, or dissatisfaction. The most important insight. We return to the central question. Am I seeking someone to share life with, or someone to fix how I feel? One creates partnership. The other creates dependency. The difference is structural. Choosing the right person. A structural filter. At this stage, the critical issue is no longer just why we enter relationships, but who we choose. Certain patterns consistently lead to instability. 1. The loneliness escape type. Forms relationships quickly to avoid being alone. Intensity fades once loneliness is temporarily relieved. 2. The validation-seeking type. Requires constant affirmation. The relationship becomes emotionally demanding over time. 3. The youth-proving type. Uses relationships to confirm attractiveness or youth. Focus is identity, not stability. 4. The financial dependence type. Displays subtle or hidden reliance on a partner's financial stability. Economic misalignment creates structural conflict. Final principle. Psychology offers a consistent insight. The motivation at the beginning predicts the trajectory of the relationship. A relationship born from loneliness loses direction. From insecurity, it becomes emotionally demanding. From fear, it generates further anxiety. From economic need, it produces conflict. So the key question is not, does this person love me? But why does this person want this relationship? In the second half of life, relationships are not sustained by emotion alone. They are sustained by clarity. Clarity about oneself, clarity about the other person, and clarity about the structure of life itself. If today's discussion challenged you, or perhaps unsettled you in a meaningful way, then consider supporting this work. Subscribe, like, and share this message so that more people can approach one of life's most important decisions with awareness and wisdom. In the next lecture, we will go deeper into the psychological roots of jealousy, aggression, addiction, and deception, and why these patterns tend to repeat. because understanding patterns is the first step to avoiding them. Thank you.